You know what? And guess just like that, we alive. I feel like that is my line when we go live, right? And just like that, boom, we are live. It is day 4 of DigCit Week. All week long, what we've been trying to do is add layers, just like the digital citizenship layers themselves, to get different voices into this conversation around how to use technology for good, project-based learning, problem-based learning. How can we kickstart some incredible projects? So we kicked off the week with Andi McNair, and her specialty really is Genius Hour. And on Tuesday, we had Dr. Jennifer Williams add that extra layer with the global goals. And last year for DigCit Week, we were focused on DigCit in the SDG. So it was really nice to bring that back with a particular focus around PBL. Yesterday, I was in an airport on the go. Thank goodness for Huhenia, because I would have missed my flight. You finished that whole panel discussion with the educators, and we got some great examples of what Use Tech for Good looks like from an educator's perspective. And today, we have tech integrators joining us, which is so exciting, because if it wasn't for you, right, classrooms wouldn't feel supported to try some new things and some things that are risky. So we have an incredible panel. Two areas we've actually had the benefit of working with, CISD and Lakeshore. So, and Dr. Kaylah Holland, this is our first time that you have joined us. So I feel like this is the first of many. And my colleague, Huhenia, joining in from
Monterrey, Mexico.
Monterrey, Mexico. And you got to speak Spanish yesterday with Greta.
Yeah, and also we had an amazing session with Amanda from Queensbury. She shared an amazing project that her students are doing with Paraguay and instruments that they built up from a landfill. And now they're building this amazing orchestra, and they will work alongside Gloria Stefan. So it was a great session too yesterday.
Yeah, so this week is meant about inspiration. So I feel like we had already decided we're going to go behind the scenes, and we're really going to let these 3 groups, right, this panel, kind of take over. We'll put up the slides when you're ready. We didn't discuss who wanted to go first. So is there's like an eeny, meeny, miny, mo? Like anybody say, yes, we want to go first?
We have students coming in at towards the end of this period.
I'm going with Lakeshore Central's going first. So
we embrace the chaos and the noise of the students, but it might be ideal to yeah.
And just before we leave, you are in, I already know from Global Maker Day, that was on Tuesday, you are in your esports team. I can tell by your background, which is exciting. So we'll have you go first. Huhenia and I will go in the background, and we'll pull up your slides. Perfect.
Awesome. All right. So my name is Mike Drezek, and also with me is
Deann Poleon.
And we're tech integrators at Lakeshore CSD in Angola, New York. And we are the Eagles. There's our mascot. And the phrase "DigCit Commit" inspired us. When we heard that come out, we always knew DigCit and digital citizenship and trying to navigate what that means. But the commitment side of that is what we really embraced when ISTE kind of put out that DigCit commit and making a commitment to it. So if you want to talk a little bit about the beginning.
So the beginning was actually the beginning of my career as a tech integrator as well. So we started by having Mary Alice come to our school and getting a group of teachers throughout our district, different grade levels, different content areas, in the same place, in the same space, and having a conversation about how this can work in their classrooms.
And we have some photos of that. And I'll also say, I think as tech integrators, I also hear a lot of tech integrators say, "Oh, I have imposter syndrome," or "Look at this school district doing these amazing things. We have to try to live up to that, or we can never do anything like that." And we're looking at, like on this picture on this slide, I see Mrs. Rachel Merritt, a New York State Teacher of the Year, putting on a DigCit Summit, doing amazing things with students. And it's like, hey, we could do this at Lakeshore, right? She inspired us. And I think that's a lot of times what tech integrators do is we get inspired by other people, and we want to make some magic happen in our own schools. So, you know, and like Deann talked about, here's just teachers around the table in a room, you know, just sharing some ideas and what we think this could look like. Somebody on a sticky note, develop a JTWA student help desk.
And they did.
And I love that somebody on the sticky note wrote, start small, right? Just like with any tech integration, sometimes starting small is the good way to go. And then, you know, expand on what I know and help kids with spreading kind words and positive reflection. So you could see that there's that kindness element in there. I've heard the hashtag from the DigCit Institute of be that kind of kid. I think kindness is also at the heart of some of our digital citizenship work. And then it evolved to the students there. You see getting into some classrooms and getting the students around the table sharing. It's one thing to have the teachers sharing their ideas, but if we're not involving the students and having them share their ideas and what it means to them, I think we're kind of missing the point. So we planted seeds with the help of the DigCit Institute, which was phenomenal. Yes. And then it came down to putting some ideas into action. So I see Mrs. Poleon here, if you want to share a little bit about what you're seeing.
Yeah. So we, in each teacher in each like partnership that we worked with, we did different activities with them. We met them where they were and tried to just add a piece or add an element to something they were doing. One of the groups actually was able to do like a little tech help desk within their class, within their building. And we also did, I don't even remember something.
Yeah, and those students made videos on how to care for your Chromebook, how to access documents in Google Drive, things that actually help their peers, but also help the teachers, which we thought was empowering to them when they learned that their teachers were seeing some of their videos. And they were only in elementary school, so it's like age doesn't matter really.
And then we had a class do some podcasting, and it was cool because they were choosing really popular people that I think adults kind of looked at in a negative way, and they were telling us why they were watching them, and they did some research. So it was like tech, it was research, it was public speaking, and like recording themselves and creating a podcast. There's so many skills that they got to use, and they were all, working on digital citizenship while they did it.
Yeah. And that was just another instance where we were inspired by other classroom teachers, Dean Gainey, Sean Farnham, Alana Stanton, Julie Hayden. We saw what they were doing with podcasts, and it was one of those things like, hey, let's do some student podcasts. We can do this. And it even led to some of those classrooms connecting with other students from other classrooms across state lines, and in some cases now that we've evolved it and felt comfortable across countries, which is and continents, which is phenomenal. And there's that planting seed idea again, and there's really no tech involved right there. You just see kids decorating on the walls, so you can go low tech or high tech from podcasts and student projects like that with help desks, but you can, like I said, start small. And then it really transitioned to, well, what if we had a DigCit Summit of our own where the students became the teachers for the day and taught the teachers how they were using technology for good. And you could see the action right there. I love that we were all wearing our Lakeshore green, and there were stations all across from Minecraft to making digital citizenship commitments in Go Bubble, to making step counters with the Fitbit. There you can see, with a Microbit, and you can see some of the different projects. Right there, some of them were making PSAs with Powtoon. Some of them were doing podcasts. Some of them were doing the Junior Water Walkers or the Global Problem Solver series.
We had a lobby. We had a cafeteria. We had the library all full, and we had the gym, which is a whole nother level that we'll talk about.
Yeah. And yeah, that's just, it goes on the DigCit Summit EDU website. You can find some videos and some pictures from that day, and it was really spectacular. And we can even see here that we had a student-run business with EdCorps, and they were using technology to help promote their business and sell their product of spreading kindness. And they're known as the Kind Kids Compliments. You can see some of their I will statements, right? How will you use technology? And they would say, I will be that kind of kid in this way. You could see that they're using Microsoft Flip and Minecraft, like I said, and even the littlest of kids with their stuffed animal.
We love following Ellie from New England. What's Mrs.
From
Scotland?
Yeah.
Scotland. And she has an elephant that goes out into her community, out into the world, and they report back all the places that the elephant's been in Twitter. And so the kids learn about the world from their elephant, basically. And so we kind of mimicked that with our eagle. And we had 2 eagles that went out, and we learned about a bunch of different places. And the kids, the teacher learned Twitter, and the kids learned it, and they had a map in their room, and it was just wild. It was so fun seeing how excited they were to see where the eagle went.
Yeah. And then, working with the Boys and Girls Club and trying to get that community approach, which was really nice. Really seeing this poster here of I am a digital citizen in multiple different languages represented. And the Seneca Nation of Indians is, right here in our school district territory. And we wanted to get their language represented. It's a dying language as their elders are passing away. They're losing a little bit of their language, and our students are really working to help preserve it, which is powerful. And there you see Jordan Cook there sharing his video, and I can't even attempt to say that, but it's powerful to show that, we want to include everyone in this conversation. We hosted an event. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the Future Ready event.
Yeah, so we actually had an event at our school. We invited community businesses and parents and students to this event. It was an evening event, and we had Brad Wade come and talk about what skills people need to be ready for the future workforce. It was really amazing because our leadership kids put it all in action. Like, they made it all work. They made all the phone calls. They made the contacts. They set up the room. And in the meantime, Brad was able to come in and visit our students and talk to our classes about, the skills that they need to be ready for the next phase.
Right. We're talking about the 4th industrial revolution and how technology will disrupt the workplace and how students can be prepared and be ready. And it was just bringing in some of these organizations to help the students understand what types of technology is out there. And it's even, I think in some cases, our younger students helping these businesses that have been around for a while, realizing what technology is out there in their world that is disrupting things too. So another layer was really just bringing generations together. And this happened, right before the pandemic. Yeah, I could see that tweet dated February 18th, 2020. And it was awesome. I'm so glad that we got to make this happen. But it was our youngest students, our 3rd graders, teaching the senior citizens how to use technology. And it was wonderful, inspired by cyber seniors. And right now we have launched another cyber seniors program at our school where our high school students are mentoring seniors around technology. We've finally been able to get that back off the ground now that the pandemic is behind us. So I think that that's another layer that was important. So we've seen students teaching adults. We've seen getting out in the community and bringing the community into the school. And now we're seeing that intergenerational piece. So, we like to inspire some of the things that are happening at Lakeshore. And we did that through a previous event with the Digital Institute, which was awesome. We've done some digital citizenship escape rooms, and this was inspired by one of the events or one of the stations, the Breakout EDU stations, with the physical kit that our students did during our summit. We tried to make a digital escape room using Elementary for Computer Science Week, and to try to code that, and then to bring this experience to our students so that they could remix this room and also look under the hood and see what some of that code looks like. I don't know if you want to share anything about just the ripple effect is really just getting out to conferences, I guess, is why we're here. You've presented a bunch.
Mary Alice and I have been a part of presentations at FETC and at NICEGate. I'm hoping this year to get out and go to TCEA and talk about these things. We just go and learn and try to bring things back and, throw that stone in so we can make an impact.
If you have a chance to get to those other types of conferences and connect, it's just see what other people are doing. And, we're not thinking of all of these ideas on our own. We're getting inspired by other people and realizing that we want to put our own twist on it here at Lakeshore and meet our own students and educators' needs. So, we really want to make that DigCit commit and that hope that it leads to impact. So we've really sunk our teeth into these competencies of alert, balanced, engaged, informed, and inclusive, and hoping that our students will make an impact in the world, in their communities, in their classrooms, and beyond. So we've, like I said, that global collaboration piece, we've collaborated in writing books with students in Korea. So using technology to co-write a book and pass the chapter back and forth with Boom Writer was one example of a project. Using Beluga to connect classrooms to learn about the global goals was very powerful. We had Same Here organization come out to our school and talk about mental health, right? When we talk about staying balanced and being alert, being alert could be being alert to threats online, but it could also be being alert and aware of yourself. And maybe if you are off balance, and what does that look like? So we hosted an event in our gym with Same Here organization and the NFLPA around mental health and how we can use technology to kind of have check-ins.
That kind of leads us perfectly to the project that was talked about last year with CPR. So we had a horrible event happen in the beginning of the football season last year with Damar Hamlin, and he basically survived because the immediate availability of CPR. And an AED. And so with that, it went wild on social media. What was happening with him, how quickly he was, resuscitated, and how that resuscitation, impacted his outcome. And it was everywhere on social media, every platform. We saw it everywhere. And all the CPR trainings around here were filling up like crazy. People wanted to learn it. And we talked about this with our leadership kids and said, it's just so important, not only that, but like, look what happened because of social media. It had a positive impact. It has people signing up for things, learning about it, wanting to be interested and knowing more. And so then they
3 for Heart Challenge is really what they got inspired by.
Yeah. And so they did some presentations to our district and did the virtual event last year with Mary Alice. And I think Eugenio was there too. And this year we have some wishful goals, but I'm going to be looking into maybe having our leadership kids be able to train our 5th graders. And then maybe our 5th graders going in and trickling into the lower classes and just kind of teaching them about CPR.
Yeah. So
we never stop going.
Yeah. I think it's always trying something, right? We want to talk about the importance of play in terms of wellness, and what we sit in an esports lab. So sometimes that play could be online and it can be in a digital form, but it also could be just unplugging and working to bring play into our lives. So we talked about the global goals. We've talked about different projects. Here's one: Google Me, I Dare You, and a Dear Future Me letter, where the students use Buncee to write letters to their future selves, and also realizing like, what does our digital footprint look like online? So I just think that there's just so many opportunities here to make a digital impact. That's a little bit of our journey. I hope that it sparks an idea, a thought. If there's something that we can ever help with, feel free to reach out to us here at Lakeshore. Be glad to collaborate or connect on anything. And I think I'll turn it over to maybe whoever might share next.
We'll go. I was gonna say, you should just pick. Eeny, miny, mo. We'll go ahead and go, if that's okay, Kaylah. All right, we're gonna share our screen. Let's see if you can see what we're sharing. We have a bit.ly as well. So I think the bit.ly will come across here in a minute too. There it is. It's bit.ly/CISD DigSit Week, and it's all lowercase. So if you want the presentation to go back and look at later, you have that link or the QR code. So we want to share a little bit about what we have done here in Castleberry ISD, and we are the innovation team. We are located, hold on. We're going to talk to you about a few different things. We are located in the Fort Worth area in Texas. So we are in the deep heart of Texas. So we're so excited to be joining you here. Just a few things we want to share with some of our big highlights that we've done last year and into this year as well. So we'll go into those a little bit more in depth. So I want to kind of tell you a little bit about our team. So we are the innovation team, and we would love to connect with you. We love learning from educators everywhere. So we have Stephanie Balster and Brent Mischnick and myself, and you can find us on Twitter and connect with us. And we would love to get to know you and learn about the great things that you guys are doing as well. So that's the only way we learn, is from sharing and growing. All right, so the first thing we want to talk to you about is our digital sportsmanship program. And with the help of Dr. Curran, we were able to implement this last year. So our superintendent, really tasked our team with coming up with a digital sportsmanship program, or digital citizenship. And so she didn't want to purchase, something. So we kind of came up with it, and we worked with Dr. Curran and really, said, how can we put a little twist on it and kind of throw in that sports aspect? And, and gamers doesn't have gaming, and sports doesn't mean necessarily sports and athletics. It could be gaming online. It could be board games. It could be, our, TikTok games, or any kind of games that students do, or just, even just, interacting together. So we really wanted to kind of target all of our students and talk about being a good sport on the field and off the field, online and offline. And so last year we went around and we presented to our school board and had this approved. And we went to all of the students in the district and we had them sign a responsible use policy. And we went through all of the principles here that you were talking about too, Drezek, Michael. And we kind of went through all the different schools, and it was really great seeing the students interact. And they had to sign a pledge that they agreed to be, a good digital sport. And our little students, they actually did their thumbprint, and they did a little agreement that way. And then we even came up with a cheer. So if you want to hear the cheer, Brent volunteered to sing it for you. It is actually in the presentation. We had some kids that really loved doing it. And so Stephanie came up with some good choreography for it, but we had a lot of fun with that. And we, we'll talk a little bit more about how we took that into our community and came up with some district community events. And we even worked with our STEM students, and we really focused on getting to know their strengths and how we can use our students and, just really tap into the strengths that they have in the classroom. So then we actually joined the DigCit conference last year. So that was a lot of fun as well. And then this year we've kind of taken a little different turn on it, where we've created an ed puzzle. So we're still having the students agree and sign their responsible use policy, but now they have an ed puzzle to go through some of the core values, and then questions that they have to answer and watch some videos and then answer those in the ed puzzle. So we're having the students do it that way this year. We're a little tapped on time to not be able to get to every single classroom, but that is our digital sportsmanship program. We also, Stephanie created some really great cards that the parents can use with their students. They're up in the top right-hand corner, just kind of an example of some dinner conversation, just great way to build that communication between families. So really trying to bring in that real engagement with families. So I'll pass it off to whoever is next to talk about the next one. I think it's Brent.
So one of the big things that we actually had started even before we started our digital sportsmanship program last year was a family code night. We're actually going to be hosting our third annual one coming up here in just under a month in November. We kind of used it as a kickoff to when things get started with Computer Science Week in December. The first year we hosted it right after Thanksgiving break. It's a little stressful coming back and having to host it right away. So we've kind of pushed it up to the week before Thanksgiving break, even though it's a little earlier than Computer Science Week. But this is a free, family-oriented come-and-go event that is for our whole district. We're not a large district. We have about 3,700 students. But this event is for all of our families. We want them to come and we want them to interact with some of the things that their students are doing in the classroom. And we don't run the stations. We have our students run the stations. We have adults there just to facilitate and kind of be the guide. But the students are the ones that are interacting with our families and going through different things like Makerspace playgrounds. And we have coding stations where they can earn a pass to be able to fly some drones. And then we have different robotics that we have in the district, like Spiros and Ozobots. We've actually been able to partner as well with a couple different companies the last couple of years. Spiro's been a big partner of ours. They've actually donated some of their little guitar kits for coding and stuff that we used in the code night the last 2 years. And they actually came out and hosted a station last year with some of the Spiros and the Indy cars that they came out with. And then we also partnered last year with 2 other companies, one called Invent XYZ, which they came out and did some things with AR and stuff and augmented reality and kind of talking about that AI piece and stuff, getting into those things. And then also with L3 Harris, which is one of our defense manufacturers down here in Texas, which we have a few of them. And they came out and ran a glider challenge, and the kids had to actually create their own glider, but they had to kind of decide how they were going to create it, and they had a little competition. And so that was a huge hit as well for our students. And we're really looking forward to this next one this year, because we were trying even more to get more of our students involved, and we're branching out and doing some other cool things and stuff this year that our students are really going to enjoy, and our families just come out of it just bubbling with excitement, because there's so many things that they get to see that our students don't get to show them most of the time, because it's all done at school. And so this is their opportunity to show off to their parents too.
And then I just kind of want to piggyback on that with the family code night as we continue to grow and add to it. We have an after school program here called ACE. And this year we are partnering with them, and the students that are staying in that program after school, they are actually preparing and putting together materials to run stations at the event. So we have that program in all of our elementaries, as well as our middle school and our high school. And so those students are also coming up with activities and things that they're going to be able to run during that station. So just bringing all of those pieces back in. ACE also aims to enrich what they're doing during the school day. So a lot of those activities that they're going to be putting together for this event is just an expansion of what they're already doing during the school day, as well as our coding clubs. So they take in our coding that's offered in K through 5, and they take that and they expand upon that. And then those are the activities that they are sharing with the families during this event. So they're really getting to see activities and participate in things that are happening during the school day that are extensions of what they're already doing in the class. So it's really such a great event, and I love seeing how it continues to grow and come together. The other thing that we started last year was our student podcast at the middle school with our STEM Academy. And the students, we met with them and we were like, hey, we talked about all of the different ways that we can share our voices and different ways that we can put and use tech for good. And so a podcast was one of them, and they came up with their mission, which is to share how the students at the middle school are using technology for good and being good digital sports. So really highlighting the message we're trying to send with the digital sportsmanship program. And then they got the opportunity last year to really kind of interview. And one thing that we learned is conversation is hard, right? Like talking to people and listening to what they're saying and being able to respond back to them is really hard. It's a skill and that takes some practice. And so in practicing those skills, they really grew and developed throughout the year. You could see their confidence change from the beginning when they were interviewing. We had Wakelet here and they interviewed the Wakelet team, and their responses was like, that's good to hear. Whereas like they were at our showcase in the spring where we partnered with our gifted and talented program, and they were there and they were interviewing parents and employees and school board members, and they were like going out into the crowd and pulling people in and saying, hey, can we interview? Can we talk to you about the event? And they were coming up with questions on the spot. And the students even came up with their own segments. They were like, hey, after the last podcast, I went home and I thought about it and I want a segment. And then they would come back and another student would be like, well, I want to have a segment now. And so they were, coming together and evolving the podcast in its own. And then this year, in working with our gifted and talented program, we were talking to some of the students and how, as they start thinking about their projects that they're going to do, the different ways that they can present their information, and podcast was one of those, and pulled up this podcast from the middle school, and the kids were like, hey, I know that kid. they couldn't see a picture of them, but from the voice, they're like, oh, that's so-and-so's cousin or that's so-and-so's brother. Like, I know who they are. And they're like, oh, I want to do a podcast. That's really cool. So just seeing how they're inspiring our elementary students and thinking of a way that they may want to use that project that they may have not thought of before. And then I'm going to come back to that, like, conversation is hard. So speaking and listening and all of those things, developing those skills and using the technology to do that is amazing. To see that as they grow with that. And then we also have a magazine. One of the things is technology is ever evolving, right? Like, there's always constantly new things coming out, and our parents, it's hard as a tech specialist to stay up to date with everything. And so just helping and finding the resources for our parents to help them keep up with what is happening in the technology world. And, their kids have phones and they're trying to, manage all of those things. So we have this Technology Connection family magazine. And so within the magazine, it highlights the digital sportsmanship program. And it also helps them have those conversation starters. Jeni mentioned that earlier, that they have those cards. And so within that magazine, they can find the cards and there's some conversation starters that they can use. And they have those cards in there to help them kind of identify what area, what value is this talking about, and just different apps and new things that are coming up, giving them information. We have the new fall edition that's going to be coming out soon, and it's really focusing on cyberbullying prevention and things that parents need to know, how they can identify it, and the different types of cyberbullying, what can they do to help protect their students, help their children at home while they're managing technology.
Great job. Awesome. Well, that's what we have to share. So if you have the link to the resources, and I think we will pass it off to Kaylah.
All right, thanks so much. That's two presentations. It's pretty difficult to follow there. So I appreciate going last. I actually have a pretty unique role than the two groups represented here. So I'll kind of talk about that for a second. But I am the Director of Instructional Technology and Blended Learning for a nonprofit called Break Free Education. I was a technology integrator, also called tech facilitator, also called tech coach for many, many, many years before starting at Break Free and taking on this role. So what's so unique about Break Free is that I specifically work with teachers and students who are in the juvenile justice system across the U.S. So if you did not know, typically in America, almost 50,000 young people wake up in a jail cell every single day, right? And some of those are as young as 11. And we really service kids up to age 24 in terms of educational content. And so, we can talk on a whole nother call about why that is and all of those reasons. But today we're talking about really tech for good and how is that used and how do we really utilize technology in these spaces to help kids succeed in both life and school. So I'm going to walk you through a couple projects that we have done to really just encourage students to create products. But it's not just about the products for us, it's also connecting them to authentic audiences. And that's just the song I sing everywhere, right? We need to create real products that connect these kids to authentic audiences, because the students that I serve that are in what we call secure schools, the students that we serve in secure schools are often forgotten. They often feel unvalued. They feel like their voices aren't heard. I mean, there's just so many things that go into working with these kids. So we want to make sure that what we are asking them to create is going to be seen by experts in the field or by someone other than the classroom teacher. So with the presentations you've already heard, these are wonderful programs that are working in a singular school or a singular district where you have the beautiful access of seeing people in person and all those things. And so I do a lot of my work virtually. I travel a lot. We work with, I think we're active in almost 30 states or something right now. So I travel quite a bit. So the one thing I can show you for Tech for Good is that I created, and it's gonna pop, oh, it may not show it because I'm sharing my screen. Oh, don't you love technology? I created a Chrome extension essentially that If you have a Google Chrome browser and we send the link to our teachers, they can download it. And it's really a great place to highlight student work because, again, we're connecting facilities together across the United States for students who are in a similar part of their life, right? And so this Chrome extension that was built, it allows teachers to sign up for new projects and initiatives that we have going out, but it also shares pictures of our winners and things like that. So behind the little globe up here is my my Chrome extension that you can't see because I'm sharing my screen. So some other products that we have, we help kids, again, not just create just a product, right? Or a lot of people call it a project, like project-based learning. We use gold standard PBL from Buck Institute. So it is a project in that kind of PBL mindset, but we like to call it products because when a kid creates a product, it feels like they're taking ownership of that. And so we talk a lot about how you can do that. We do 3D models. We have them write speeches and poems and ebooks and roller coasters and all kinds of things made out of cardboard because there are a lot of restrictions inside of these facilities. So in terms of technology, it's very restricted. Even if we're allowed devices, then usually it's a Chrome, like a Google Chromebook or a Google ecosystem. And those devices are extremely locked down in terms of what kids can actually access on the internet and what they can't. In some spaces, kids can't even access images. So we teach them how to use the Shapes tool in Google Slides to make all kinds of things. And then outside of technology, with just materials itself, a lot of places have cardboard, they have paper, they have tape, they have a writing utensil. So if you can get access to those 4 things, we can make some magic happen. But other places have access to a few more materials, but basically it's very restricted in a lot of places. So when we do this idea of you're creating a product, we want it to be something that is relevant and meaningful to the student. It connects them to that authentic audience, and it provides that active learning experience. So I have some examples for you. Actually, I'm going to come back to this one, and I'm going to show our examples first. So you can access up here under our little globe is our website, breakfree-ed.org/unsung or /words unlocked. You can see a lot more of these, but there's 2 products here that I want to show. One is called Unsung, and the other is Words Unlocked. And so basically at Break Free, we create a monthly initiative that students participate in. We provide all of the lessons, the lesson plans, we align them to standards, we do all the work so teachers can literally pull it down easily and put it into the classroom. And every single month, we're hosting one of these initiatives, and every one ends in a national contest. So our ones that use tech for good are Unsung, which is where students can empower their voices and write their own rap song. And then the other one is Words Unlocked, where they're writing their own poem and then we're turning their poem into a video. What I love about Unsung last year, as you can see in our image, is that we connected it to the Sustainable Development Goals. And so we basically said, here are what the SDGs are. Here's 4 of them. We went through a lot of lessons on what they mean and why they're important and how our students can make an impact on them. And then students actually got to create their own song using Soundtrap. So I'm going to play a little bit of this for you. Let's do the song. So I'm going to be a terrible musician and just stop it in the middle of the sentence. But again, that link is available and you can go and listen to all 5 of our top winners. And when we say like we create these products that are connected to authentic audiences, we have all of these facilities submit their student songs, and they're judged by volunteers based on a specific rubric. And then the top 10 are sent to a real streaming artist that then, grades with the rubric and provides our top 5. And so obviously this is our first place winner. And I love being able to just share their songs and share their work in all the workshops and PD sessions that I give. The other one is Words Unlocked, and it's our poetry initiative. And we do that every April. And I'm going to play, this is a 40-second clip, but this is the actual voice of the student reading the poem that he wrote, and he was our first place winner this past April.
I don't think, we can't hear it.
Oh, could you hear the song?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, apologies for that. You just sat there and watched me listen to it then. Okay. Great. StreamYard is not. Is there a button I'm supposed to click to share audio? I don't normally need to. Okay, that's okay. So the links are there. These images are clickable. They're hyperlinked. Please listen to them because I just love to share their work. So thanks for letting me know you couldn't hear it. Otherwise, you're just going to stand there awkwardly and watch me. So another way we use Tech for Good, I've got 2 kind of examples left for my time, but another way that we use Tech for Good is we've been really looking into virtual reality. And so again, I work with students who are in juvenile justice facilities, and so they're literally confined. They cannot leave until their time is served and all of that kind of happens. So if I can use virtual reality, this was the plan or the idea. If I can use virtual reality, how do I do that in a safe way where I keep the kids safe and secure, but I also keep them from getting into further trouble, right? Because I don't ever want to do anything that's going to extend a student's time in their facility. So we worked, I did an 18-month research project. I looked at a lot of different types of programs. I piloted and tested them in some different spaces, and we landed on Class VR. And these are some pictures from our first implementation in a facility in New Orleans, Louisiana. And it was truly incredible. I mean, when you talk about using tech for good, I mean, these kids, yes, of course, you can take them to Dubai and Cairo and London and all those things with virtual reality, but they're literally getting to hold an atom in their hand. And as they're studying what are cellular structures and what makes this up, they can take these things apart virtually with their hands. They can immerse themselves inside a human vein and literally see it with their eyes and learn all about it. That is how we feel like we are creating tech for good. And we're literally, taking them outside of their 4 walls without actually having to leave. So we were very excited for virtual reality. We got a grant and we're doing some pilots with different classes. And so we currently have about 8 facilities around the country who are either currently using or will be using by January our kind of virtual reality pilots. So I'm just really excited about that kind of program coming forward. And then finally, if you didn't know, October is YJAM. It's the National Youth Justice Action Month. So if you did not know that, you do now. And so what you're seeing here are pictures from our West Virginia facilities. They're a state-run facility for the School of Diversion and Transition. And they support and bring awareness to YJAM, the Youth Justice Action Month, by collecting student artwork and student poems and speeches and all of those things. And they have little QR codes on the bottom of each of these pieces of art. And they're displayed in this windowsill along one of their main streets. I think it's in Charleston. There's this huge event where people come from all over to kind of exist in from like a Saturday to Saturday. It's a week-long thing. This kind of big event. And so they took over one window at a store and literally showcase student work. And they have QR codes embedded in them. So if I pass by this lovely painting with the trees, I can scan that QR code. I can leave feedback in the terms of a Flipgrid video. And the student is going to see that feedback that I've left for them. So I never have to ever meet the student because there's a lot of rules and laws about who gets to visit and who comes in facilities and all of those things. So technology is allowing us access to provide real feedback for these students. And that is the beautiful thing about those authentic audiences, is when we're really able to use technology for good in those kinds of purposes. So sorry about my tech issues. You know, when you're tech people, I think tech people always have the highest tech issues. And I think it's just our yearly test of, can we work on the fly? So we just, sorry, didn't work that well for me today, but there's lots of links in my slide deck. You can see that behind the little globe here. It's bit.ly/KHDigcit. So capitals K and H, all lowercase DIGCIT. Those are all hyperlinked. Please listen to the kids' work, play it in classes. Their stories are powerful, and we are their authentic audience. So if you have any feedback for them, I'd love to send it to them. So you can email me and let me know. Thanks again.
Okay, we were behind the scenes. And I got to hear voices as well when I was grabbing those links. And so but you're right. You're 100% right about tech issues when we're going live. And it's like, yeah, let's challenge us all. But what the 3 different groups, what you just did as a panel, gave so many examples, and like, you know, where digital citizenship, where it can be in all these different places, and all these different ages. And it was really, I mean, when we imagine what this is going to look like, you know, this just exceeded all expectations, because you gave us concrete examples about where to get started. Like, I am so inspired. My wheels are spinning, and I can't wait to see, like, what will each group do? Like, I can't wait to celebrate. And Kaylah, will there be a possibility that we could, I mean, maybe it can't be live because of privacy issues, but is there a way that, you know, we can showcase, so that, I love the idea about the QR code, like, that we can give that authentic,
absolutely.
feedback.
And I can work with you to, you know, so Unsung is happening right now. And so we'll have a new winner in like 3 weeks. So maybe the new winner, we can connect you with them and maybe do a recorded session. If they have their cameras off and we don't share names, we can try to make something happen.
Oh my gosh. And how about any Spanish speakers or Portuguese speakers? Because we had all different languages last April during our Global Student Showcase join us. We had Arabic. It was really incredible.
Yeah,
Turkish,
I can definitely, I can share some student work with you, because we often have students submitting in different languages.
And now, just thinking about different languages, back to Lakeshore, I think, you know, we got to get Seneca. We also had talked about that last year, but the fact that Seneca Nation, that language, that you had to go to the elders, right? Like, here's a language that's dwindling, but no, not dwindling. Now it's in the future, because I'm a digital citizen, right? That didn't exist, and now it does.
Yeah, and they've been working hard. They just had a spotlight on the news last week of what the students are doing to resurrect their language, and how the young people are trying to bring it back, which is powerful.
I love walking by Jordan's room. They're always doing the most amazing things too, because they're learning about their culture while they're learning their language. And they were just doing, they were grading the corn, and it was just amazing, like they would have done in the house.
We're learning about the hard history of some of the residential schools and what that meant, and how many of them are trying to be stripped of their culture. And it's tough. It's heartbreaking. And I think they're using that negative to, you know, find a way to bring something positive out of it. And technology is certainly going to be helping with that effort. And I just love that we were able to be part of this with everybody here. It's so neat to see everybody's spin on digital citizenship, and
we're totally stealing the family coding night.
Code Night Lakeshore. Yeah,
might not happen this year, but it's happening.
I love it.
I couldn't remember I don't know. There is some, like, you know, families that do this together, stay together. I don't know, it was in my head. I was the one writing that comment. Families that code together, stay together. I don't know. But I love that idea of that intergenerational, when it basically is an invitation. I don't know if you got to see on Tuesday, but Dr. Jennifer Williams, she had a digital citizenship invitation. We had this conversation about that every year. I keep on inviting, you know, I always want to work and collaborate with Jen Williams. But the way that she phrased it, as simple as an invitation, and what we just saw all of you do, you are making invitations. You are inviting your community to be part of something larger than anybody individually. It's a collective invitation. And I just hope that, like, we skip stones, right? We get that ripple effect, these positive ripples that you just put out as a panel of incredible tech integrators is just going to inspire and empower other classrooms and school communities to want to take up the charge as well. So, Eugenia, this was really wonderful. And, oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, it was a great panel. I'm sorry about that.
It was really wonderful. So thank you so much. Tomorrow, we end our week with teacher librarians, and we're going live at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we are really looking forward to projects that we get to showcase and celebrate in April at our next Global Student Showcase. So thank you individually and collectively to this incredible group of tech integrators. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.